When your days begin to blur together, when you've tried to change 100 times and somehow always end up in the same place, it's not because you lack ambition. It's because you've been chasing the wrong thing. You don't need another giant goal to prove your worth or another list of dreams that looks perfect on paper but collapses under pressure. What you need is something that actually holds you when your energy fades. Something that still functions when life gets messy and unpredictable. Most people start with excitement. They set bold goals, make detailed plans, write affirmations, feel unstoppable for a few days, and then the energy slips. The same cycle repeats, again and again. They start blaming themselves, thinking they failed because they didn't want it badly enough, when in truth, what they lacked wasn't desire. It was a system, a framework that keeps them anchored when emotions fluctuate, when motivation runs dry, when reality interferes. That's the hidden difference between those who grow and those who stay stuck. Not passion, but process. Goals sound powerful because they promise transformation, but when you're exhausted, stressed, or distracted, they don't carry you forward. Systems do. A solid system is like quiet scaffolding around your life. Invisible, but essential. It helps you act without needing to constantly debate, plan, or push yourself through guilt. It transforms progress from a struggle into a rhythm. This is what set systems instead of goals is truly about. Not chasing the next burst of motivation, but building a structure that sustains you long after the excitement fades. It's not about hype or slogans, but about design. Designing your habits, your days, your decisions, so they lead you toward who you want to become almost automatically. Because real progress doesn't come from intensity, it comes from consistency. And as you listen here on Book Sounds Better You, every word is meant to guide you toward that quieter kind of success. One built not on promises, but on proof. If you've grown tired of starting over, maybe it's time to stop relying on goals and start creating a life that runs on systems that actually work. Chapter 1. Choose actions that match the life you want. Every person wants a better life, more peace, more purpose, more control. Yet very few ever live it. Not because they aren't capable, but because they spend years waiting for change to arrive instead of building it themselves. You don't get the life you want by wishing, planning, or hoping the right door opens someday. You get it by moving, by making daily choices that reflect the life you say you want. Not once in a while, but every single day until those choices become your identity. You don't need another grand plan or perfect strategy. You don't need to wait for motivation to strike or circumstances to align. What you need is a quiet question you ask yourself before every decision. Does this action match the life I want to live? That question is where transformation begins. Not in motivation, but in alignment. Most people never make that connection. They say they want to change, but their actions tell another story. They want health, but they keep serving comfort. They want wealth, but they spend hours scrolling and avoiding the discomfort that wealth demands. They want peace, but they flood their minds with noise, gossip, and negativity. They want progress, but they move in circles because it's easier to stay familiar than to face what growth requires. Words don't build a new life. Habits do. Talk is cheap. Proof costs energy. You don't prove desire by speaking about it. You prove it by what you choose when nobody's watching. That's the defining line between people who evolve and people who repeat. Growth doesn't happen because you set goals. It happens because you live differently. It's not about what you hope for. It's about what you do consistently, even when it's boring, hard, or uncomfortable. Every single choice you make either strengthens the future you're building or feeds the habits that keep you trapped. You're casting votes for who you're becoming every day through your routines, your reactions, your discipline, or your distractions. And the truth is, most people want change without changing anything. They want results without responsibility. But that's not how systems work. Goals inspire you. Systems carry you. A goal is a spark, but a system is the engine. A goal says, I want to be fit. A system says, I move my body every day no matter how I feel. A goal says, I want to be financially free. A system says, I invest, I save, I think long term. A goal says, I want to be calm. A system says, I protect my peace, limit my inputs, and control my mornings. Goals are wishes. Systems are proof. The person who builds a system doesn't cross their fingers and hope life changes. They make sure it does. Because systems don't rely on feelings, they run on structure. They don't care about motivation. They're powered by consistency. That's why systems win every single time. If you want to change your life, stop chasing the perfect goal. Start fixing your next decision. Ask yourself, what does a better life require from me right now? If you want peace, maybe that means not touching your phone for the first hour of your morning. If you want strength, maybe that means showing up even when you're tired. If you want success, maybe that means acting before you feel ready. Stop overthinking it. Stop waiting to be perfect. Progress doesn't come from intensity, it comes from direction. You don't have to do everything. You just have to do the right thing next. And when your actions begin to align with your future, progress becomes automatic. You won't have to push as hard because your system starts doing the heavy lifting for you. But don't misunderstand. It won't always be easy. Some days will drain you. Some mornings will feel impossible. But that's when you remind yourself, if I really want it, I have to live like it. Not talk about it. Not dream about it. Live it. Because real change doesn't come from emotion. It comes from execution. The truth is, most people live split between two worlds. The first is the world in their head, full of dreams, plans, and good intentions. The second is the world of their habits, the one they actually live in. And when those two don't match, frustration builds. You start feeling stuck, not because you lack vision, but because your daily reality doesn't reflect it. Change doesn't start with better ideas. It starts with better patterns. You don't need another motivational video or journal entry. You need systems that reflect who you're becoming, not who you were. Systems that anchor you in direction when emotion pulls you off course. Start with your mornings. Are they intentional or reactive? Do you own your time, or does your phone own you? The first hour of your day reveals your priorities more clearly than your words ever will. Then, look at your time. How much of it is spent on actions that actually move you closer to the life you want? If most of your hours are spent avoiding discomfort or chasing distractions, your system is already deciding your future, just not the one you want. And then, look at your energy. Who drains it? What steals it? Because no system can survive if you give your energy to chaos, comparison, and noise. Your focus is your lifeline. Protect it like it matters, because it does. Your habits, your time, your energy, those are your tools. Use them wisely. When they start aligning with your direction, you stop chasing motivation. You just move. You become consistent, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. That's how people change. Not by setting huge goals at the start of the year, but by quietly choosing the right action every single day. You don't wait for perfect circumstances. You build better days, one action at a time. Power doesn't come from control. It comes from alignment. When your behavior and your purpose walk in the same direction, progress becomes inevitable. So ask yourself, what am I doing every day? What am I doing every week? What do I keep doing even when nobody's watching? That's your system. And that system is either building your future or burying it. If you want to respect your life, start by respecting your behavior. If you want to feel powerful, start by taking control of your patterns. You already know which habits help and which ones hurt. The difference between staying stuck and moving forward is honesty, the courage to face that truth and act on it. You don't need more time, you need more direction. You don't need to feel ready, you need to start. Because once your system becomes your foundation, motivation becomes irrelevant. You'll wake up with focus, move with purpose, and rest with peace because your system will carry you when your willpower fades. Choose actions that match the life you want. Not sometimes, not when it's convenient, but as a standard. Make alignment your default. Because when chaos comes, and it always does, your system will hold you steady. You won't be reacting to life anymore. You'll be designing it, brick by brick, habit by habit, decision by decision. That's how real lives are built, not by massive leaps, but by quiet repetitions done with purpose. You don't rise to the level of your dreams, you fall to the level of your systems, and your system is built not by what you say or plan, but by what you repeat. So build carefully, live deliberately, and never forget, your system is your future in motion. You're either designing it with intention or drifting into someone else's plan. That's the real cost of inaction. The life you want isn't far away, It's already forming in the next choice you make. So make that choice count. Let it reflect your standards. Let it echo your values. Let it move in the direction of your future. Because when your actions and your vision finally match, you don't wish for change anymore. You live it. That's how pride is built. One disciplined action at a time, until your life starts to feel like something you created on purpose. When the noise of the world grows too loud and everyone around you is rushing to prove, to compare, to react, remember this. True authority doesn't shout, it centers. The ones who lead their lives with power are not those who control others, but those who control themselves. They move with intention, not impulse. They choose clarity over chaos, patience over panic, and action over noise. Because leadership isn't a title, it's a temperature. You set the tone of your world through the calm you keep, the discipline you hold, and the energy you protect. People may never hear your thoughts, but they will always feel your steadiness. So before you move into the next chapter, pause here, not to think harder, but to stand taller. Let silence become your strength and composure your quiet declaration of power. The world follows those who no longer chase control, but embody it. Chapter 2. Build patterns that feel natural, not forced. You don't need to fight your way into a better life. You need to flow into it. That's where so many people go wrong. They try to transform themselves through pressure and willpower, believing that the harder they push, the faster they'll change. But pressure always fades, and willpower always runs out. Because when your habits feel unnatural, they become something you have to fight for every single day. And if you're fighting your own life, you will always lose. Real growth isn't built on force, it's built on fit. The systems that last are the ones that match who you truly are, where you are, and how you live. They don't demand perfection. They don't ask you to pretend. They meet you exactly where you stand, not some imagined version of your future self, but the present, imperfect human you. When you try to live by habits that don't align with your nature, you create resistance. You wake up feeling like every task is a battle. Eventually, you stop showing up, not because you lack discipline, but because the routine you're following doesn't feel like you. It feels like an imitation of someone else's plan. That's the trap most people fall into. They try to copy someone else's success system, hoping it will unlock the same results. But discipline doesn't work that way. You can't borrow someone else's rhythm and expect it to harmonize with your own life. You can't copy your way into confidence. You have to design your way there. A good system never feels like punishment. It feels like partnership. It doesn't take from your life. It gives to it. It creates structure without suffocating you. It creates order without pressure. It brings you peace instead of guilt. When you design your patterns around your nature instead of against it, life begins to feel lighter. Effort turns into rhythm, and rhythm, not intensity, is what creates real, lasting consistency. The people who stay strong over time aren't running on hype. They're running on rhythm. They understand their limits, they honor their strengths, and they build systems that serve both. That's why they keep going when others burn out. They're not forcing their energy into molds that don't fit. They're aligning their energy with what feels sustainable. You don't need to wake up before dawn if your creativity thrives at night. You don't need to meditate for an hour if silence for 5 minutes brings you clarity. You don't need to fill your shelves with books if deep reflection after one chapter transforms your perspective. There's no universal rule for progress. There's only alignment. If your habits aren't sustainable, they aren't helpful. If your system drains you, it's not discipline, it's disconnection. Self-awareness is what closes that gap. It's not about analyzing your emotions endlessly. It's about learning how you actually function. What gives you energy? What drains it? What clears your head? What clutters it? What keeps you moving forward? And what quietly pulls you back? If you don't know your patterns, you'll keep forcing ones that don't fit, and you'll mistake exhaustion for failure. But you're not failing. You're just building from the wrong blueprint. Start by observing yourself without judgment. Don't critique, just notice. When are you most alert? When do you drift? What do you do daily without effort? That's where your system begins. The best starting point is what already works. Take the parts of your life that run smoothly and build around them. If you enjoy walking in the evening, turn it into reflection time, a space to reset your thoughts or practice gratitude. If your mornings are quiet and calm, protect that hour. Let it become your planning time, your anchor. If you always drink coffee at a certain time, make it a trigger, a small signal to check your focus, track your progress, or pause for a mindful breath. You don't always need to add more. Sometimes progress means adding meaning to what already exists. You're not building a perfect routine, you're building one that pulls you instead of pushing you. When a system fits, it feels easy to return to. It feels like support, not struggle. And that's what keeps you consistent on the days you're tired, distracted, or overwhelmed. Because once a pattern becomes part of who you are, you don't need motivation to keep it alive. It sustains itself. That's how identity begins to shift. Change doesn't come from massive effort once in a while. It comes from something small, repeated daily, until it feels as natural as breathing. You don't need your system to look impressive. You need it to feel authentic. If you can focus for 10 minutes, start there. If you can prepare one healthy meal, begin with that. If you can find 5 quiet minutes before bed, use them. It's not about scale, it's about sincerity. When your habits reflect your values, they stop feeling like chores and start feeling like self-respect. You begin to want to show up, not because it's easy, but because it feels right. And that's where confidence grows, not from outcomes, but from alignment. Understand, too, that your systems will evolve. They're not meant to stay frozen. What serves you today might not serve you 6 months from now. That's not inconsistency, that's growth. You are not supposed to live the same day forever. You're supposed to adjust, refine, and adapt. Real strength is not in holding on too tightly, but in adjusting wisely. Flexibility is not weakness, it's intelligence. A strong system bends without breaking. It expands with you. That's how you build a life that lasts. Discipline and pressure are not the same. You can have structure without guilt. You can have commitment without chaos. The best systems don't confine you, they free you. They create order, but within that order, they give you space to breathe. If your habits feel heavy, don't quit. Redesign them. Remove the weight, but keep the structure. Ask yourself, what grounds me during the day? What brings me back when I feel scattered? That's your anchor. It could be a stretch at sunrise, a few quiet breaths before work, an afternoon walk without your phone, or a brief check-in before sleep. These small anchors keep you steady when life tilts. Because life will tilt. Some days will fall apart, you'll lose focus, you'll feel off track. But if your system is built on who you are, not who you wish you were, it will always guide you home. That's the power of alignment. It catches you when motivation fails. It holds you steady when emotion shifts. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a natural rhythm, one that feels like it belongs to you. Because when something feels natural, you return to it without thinking. That's what creates momentum that lasts. Familiarity, not force. Stop building systems to impress people. Build systems to protect yourself, your peace, your health, your focus. Build routines that carry you through the seasons when discipline feels distant. Build patterns that feel real enough to live inside, not just talk about. If your system feels fake, you'll resist it. If it feels forced, you'll avoid it. But when it feels authentic, when it fits who you are, you'll keep doing it naturally. That's the secret most people overlook. Sustainable systems aren't about perfection. They're about connection. You don't have to work harder. You just have to work truer. Build routines that move in rhythm with your energy, not against it. Let your habits evolve with your seasons. Let your systems reflect your truth. Don't rush. Don't compare. Just build slowly, day by day, until your habits stop feeling like effort and start feeling like identity. And when that happens, you won't have to chase discipline anymore. You won't have to look for motivation or fear losing progress, because you'll have built a life that supports you from within. A system that doesn't demand perfection, only presence. That's the quiet power of building patterns that feel natural, not forced. They don't drain you. They don't disappear. They stay. They grow. They evolve. And over time, they turn the ordinary rhythm of your days into something extraordinary. Not because you forced it, but because you designed it to fit. Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's found in the quiet rhythm of a person who no longer needs to chase intensity to prove they're growing. The real mark of maturity is grace. the ability to move forward without resistance, to stay composed when life demands speed, and to remain steady when the world keeps changing its tempo. You become powerful not by pushing harder, but by flowing smarter, by knowing your rhythm so deeply that nothing external can pull you off course. That's composure, the kind of calm that builds real leadership from the inside out. Because the ones who move with rhythm don't need to announce control. They are control, centered, grounded, unshakable. Chapter 3. Remove pressure by focusing only on today. Most people carry far too much weight in their minds. They wake up already burdened by the thoughts of everything they haven't done, everything they still need to fix, and everything they fear might go wrong. Their mind becomes a crowded room, filled with noise from the past, anxiety about the future, guilt over yesterday, and pressure for tomorrow. And under that kind of mental load, even the strongest spirit begins to bend. They try to fix their entire life in one moment. They think if they just plan hard enough, if they just push hard enough, everything will finally fall into place. But life doesn't work that way. You can't live 10 years ahead. You can't repair the past by replaying it. You can't carry every problem at once and expect to stand tall. The weight of everything is too heavy for anyone to hold. The truth is simple, but often forgotten. You don't need to carry it all. You only need to carry today. This moment, this breath, this decision. You can't control what's already gone, and you don't need to control what hasn't arrived. The only time that's ever truly yours is now. And now doesn't need to be filled with pressure. It needs to be filled with presence. When you stop trying to solve your whole life and start focusing on what matters in this single day, something powerful happens. Your mind begins to quiet down. Your breathing steadies. The impossible starts to feel manageable again because you've removed the burden of everything and replaced it with this. That's how people take back control. Not by having every answer, but by mastering the moment in front of them. Because when you make today strong, tomorrow becomes lighter. When you show up fully now, your future begins to shift without you having to chase it. But that starts with narrowing your focus, with refusing to live in too many directions at once. That's where anxiety hides, in the split between yesterday and tomorrow. That's where guilt grows, where comparison steals your energy, and where peace gets lost. Ask yourself, what can I take care of today? Not theoretically, not in some perfect version of your life, but here, right now. If you want to become healthier, stop obsessing over the entire year ahead. Just ask, what's one healthy choice I can make today? If you want financial stability, don't stare at your 5-year plan. Make one small decision today that respects your money. If you want confidence, don't wait to become the best version of yourself. Do one thing today that reminds you you're capable. That's it. One day, one step, one move in the right direction. You remove pressure the moment you stop stacking unrealistic expectations on your shoulders. You don't have to be everything. You just have to be honest. If your day feels heavy, lighten it by doing what you can. Not everything, just something. If your energy is low, give what's available. Don't chase perfection. Chase presence. Because life rewards consistency, not intensity. Progress isn't always obvious. It's not always fast or glamorous, but it's always real when it's consistent. Showing up for one day, then another, and another builds trust within yourself. It teaches your mind that you follow through. That's how self-respect is formed, not by massive wins, but by small promises kept. Many people stay stuck because they measure progress by what's missing, not by what's done. They wake up already feeling behind, and that thought quietly drains their energy before the day even begins. But the cure for that pressure is not speed, it's presence. You don't fix your life by overthinking it. You fix it by giving today what it needs. That's enough. And something changes when you live that way. You start noticing the small things you once rushed past. The sound of morning light entering your room, the way your coffee warms your hands, the calm that exists between one breath and the next. You start feeling your life again, instead of trying to outrun it. Most stress doesn't come from what's happening. It comes from stacking too many thoughts about what might happen. When you simplify your focus, you simplify your emotions. The need for control fades, and what replaces it is calm awareness. Because control was never the goal. Clarity was. When you accept that all you need to do is give your best to this day, pressure dissolves. You stop rushing your growth. You stop comparing your timeline. You start building a steady rhythm that feels like peace. The best rhythm in life is built by the day. You don't need to master every chapter at once. You just need to live this page with intention. That doesn't mean doing everything. It means doing what matters. A walk to clear your mind, a calm, present conversation, a focused hour of work, a quiet meal, a pause to breathe. These are not small acts, they are anchors. They bring weight to your presence and stability to your day. When you live under too much pressure, every mistake feels like a collapse. You begin to see every delay as failure. But when your focus is today, mistakes become lessons. You don't see them as endings. You see them as feedback. Because you're not trying to live a perfect life. You're trying to live an honest one. Even people with strong systems and habits struggle with this. They do the right things, but they demand too much too soon. They want progress before patience, results before rhythm. But growth doesn't work that way. Results appear when you've earned them, day by day, choice by choice, repetition by repetition. It's not about speed, it's about stability. Can you keep moving when nobody's cheering? Can you keep believing when the progress is invisible? That's what defines strength, not how fast you rise, but how steadily you build. Ask yourself, what are you chasing that lives outside of today? What worries are stealing energy from the work you could be doing right now? What can you let go of so your mind can breathe again? You are allowed to care deeply without carrying everything. You are allowed to move forward without rushing. You are allowed to simplify your life without feeling guilty for it. Because simplicity is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. When you narrow your focus to what's real, your mind clears. You stop drifting into comparison. You stop chasing timelines that don't belong to you. You stop living for validation and start living for alignment. You begin to see your own path clearly, one step, one choice, one day at a time. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a year of quiet consistency. The goal is not to burn out. It's to stay in the game long enough to win it. And the only way to stay in the game is to take the pressure off. Make each day count for what it is, not what you wish it could be. If you want to become stronger, wiser, more disciplined, do what that version of you would do today. You don't need to do everything they'd ever do, just the next right thing. That's enough. When you focus on today, you stop dragging yesterday's guilt and stop fearing tomorrow's unknowns. You start respecting the space you're in, this day, this hour, this moment. Because control doesn't come from predicting the future. It comes from being fully present in the only place life actually happens, here. This is your workspace. This is your time. Not someday, today. And if today falls apart, that's okay. Tomorrow is not a failure. It's another chance. You reset, you breathe, and you begin again. Freedom isn't the absence of challenge, it's the absence of pressure. You remind yourself, I'm building something real, and real things take time. You're not weak for moving slow. You're strong for not quitting. You're not lazy for resting. You're wise for protecting your energy. You're not broken for having hard days. You're human for feeling them. So take a deep breath. Slow your thoughts. Look at what's in front of you. What can you do with it? What one action will bring you closer to the person you're becoming? That's your work. That's your focus. Make today light enough to carry, strong enough to build, and meaningful enough to count. Let go of everything else. The future will arrive on its own. The past has already spoken. All that's left is today. And that is more than enough. Peace doesn't come from having less to do. It comes from learning how to move through what's in front of you with steadiness and grace. The calmest people aren't those who escape responsibility. They're the ones who understand where their power begins and where it ends. They carry no extra weight. They give their full attention to what's within reach and release what isn't. That's the quiet art of mastery. Not speed, not control, but presence. Because once you stop living ahead of yourself, you begin to notice the strength that's been waiting in this moment all along. And from that stillness, something new begins to take shape. The space where clarity grows, where confidence is built, and where focus becomes effortless. That's where we move next. Chapter 4. Build systems that calm your overwhelmed mind. When your mind feels overloaded, when it starts spinning with everything you haven't done and everything still waiting for you, the solution is not more motivation. It's not to push harder or to promise yourself that tomorrow will be different. The truth is, you don't beat chaos through effort. You beat it through structure. Calm doesn't appear when life slows down. It appears when you design a rhythm strong enough to hold you steady no matter how fast the world moves. When your brain feels scattered, when every thought is shouting for attention, it's because you're trying to hold too much. Too many tasks, too many responsibilities, too many silent expectations you didn't even agree to carry. That's not weakness, that's overload. The mind has limits. It's not built to juggle hundreds of open loops. You can't think clearly when you're buried under decisions. So instead of pushing through the noise, you build systems that quiet it. Because peace isn't the reward at the end of a busy life. It's the foundation that makes that life possible. Clarity isn't something you stumble upon. It's something you create. Every routine, every bit of preparation, every small system you build is a decision made once, so your brain doesn't have to make it again. The fewer choices you face each day, the more attention you have left for what truly matters. The people who stay calm under pressure aren't those who have less to deal with. They're the ones who have learned to organize the chaos before it takes control. When life feels heavy, it's rarely because of one big thing. It's the hundreds of tiny unmade decisions stacked on top of each other. What to wear, what to eat, what to start first, who to call, when to stop. Every choice costs energy, and the more decisions you leave open, the faster your focus drains. That's why building systems isn't just about efficiency, it's about mental survival. A strong system turns confusion into clarity. It takes all those micro choices and gives them order. You don't wake up asking, "What should I do?" You wake up knowing. Imagine waking each morning with calm instead of panic. You're not rushing to find your keys or skipping breakfast because you overslept. You're not scrambling to remember what's due today. Instead, you move through a rhythm that already exists. You know what's next because you've decided it ahead of time. That's what a system gives you. Not restriction, but freedom. Freedom from stress, from indecision, from the noise that fills your day before it even begins. Start simple. Choose one place in your life that feels heavy, the mornings, your health, your time, your money. You don't need to fix everything. You just need to lighten the area that drains you most. If your mornings feel rushed, create a short, predictable flow that brings order to the start of your day. If you can't focus at work, build structure into your hours. Times for deep focus, times for rest. If your finances make you anxious, automate what you can so you're not constantly thinking about it. The purpose of a system isn't to make your life rigid, it's to make your mind quiet. A system that works for you should feel supportive, not suffocating. If something feels forced, simplify it. If it feels heavy, remove the parts that don't serve you. Systems are meant to free you from mental strain, not create new pressure. You don't need to design something perfect. You just need something stable enough to catch you when your energy runs low. Because when your structure is solid, you no longer rely on bursts of motivation. You rely on rhythm. And rhythm never abandons you the way motivation does. Once systems take root, peace becomes automatic. You no longer spend the first hour of your day reacting to problems. You move through solutions that already exist. You don't waste mental energy deciding what's next. You simply follow through. That's where confidence is born, not from hype, but from evidence. You begin to trust yourself because your actions are backed by structure. You don't have to force consistency anymore. It becomes your natural state. Decision fatigue is real. Every time you ask your brain to choose, it burns a little energy. Eventually, there's nothing left. That's why even small tasks can feel impossible at the end of a long day. So instead of trying to willpower your way through, reduce the number of decisions you face. Plan your meals for the week. Choose your clothes the night before. Write your top 3 priorities before you sleep. Clear your physical space so it mirrors the calm you're trying to build internally. None of these things take much time, but together they build momentum. They turn chaos into clarity. A structured life is not a controlled life. It's a free life. When your days have rhythm, your mind relaxes. You stop overthinking. You stop reacting to every interruption. You begin to live from choice instead of habit. Structure isn't a prison, it's protection. It shields your focus from distractions and your peace from unnecessary noise. It gives you control over what truly matters: your attention, your time, and your energy. Stillness is part of that system too. 5 minutes of quiet without a phone, without conversation, without stimulus can reset your entire mental state. Most people underestimate how much clarity is hidden inside silence. You don't always need to do more to feel better. Sometimes you just need to stop and breathe. Stillness isn't wasting time. It's creating space for your mind to process what it's been carrying all day. In that silence, ideas form, emotions settle, and your thoughts begin to align. The strongest people don't run on chaos. They protect their peace before chaos arrives. They rest before exhaustion, plan before panic, and design systems that keep them stable no matter what changes around them. The reason they can move fast is because their foundation is calm. If you feel constantly behind, it's not because you're lazy. It's because your current system no longer fits your life. And that's okay. Systems aren't permanent. They're alive. They evolve with you. What worked 6 months ago may not work now. You've changed. Your priorities have shifted. Your responsibilities have grown. Let your systems grow with you. Don't stay trapped in old patterns that no longer serve your peace. Updating your structure isn't failure, it's maturity. Growth always demands reorganization. Adjust as you go. You're not meant to live the same way forever. When your mind feels heavy, that's your signal to slow down, to clear space, to simplify. The mind doesn't want to quit, it just wants to breathe. So listen to it. Build routines that give it rest. Maybe you spend 10 quiet minutes each evening reviewing tomorrow. Maybe you start every Sunday with a reset ritual. Organize your space, clear your inbox, map your week. These moments aren't chores, they're self-respect. Each time you prepare, you're making life easier for your future self. You're reducing the number of things tomorrow you have to fight through. Preparation doesn't make you rigid, it makes you powerful. Because the more your life runs on systems, the more mental space you have for creativity, connection, and presence. You stop wasting energy on small problems that don't matter. You use that energy to build something meaningful. That's what calm really is. Not the absence of movement, but the alignment of it. A calm mind is not one that avoids challenges. It's one that approaches them with clarity. When you have systems to guide you, stress stops being chaos and becomes strategy. You know what to do. You know where to start. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. Remember this. Peace is not a luxury reserved for people with easy lives. It's something you create intentionally. It's a practice. You build it through small, consistent acts of organization and care. You earn it by choosing simplicity over confusion. And the reward isn't just calm, it's control. It's the deep, steady confidence that no matter how unpredictable the world gets, your internal system keeps you steady. You don't fight chaos by working harder. You fight it by building systems so strong that chaos has nowhere to live. When your day has order, your mind has space. When your priorities are clear, your energy stops leaking into distractions. When your routines are steady, you stop chasing motivation because momentum takes its place. Every system you build becomes a layer of peace. Every bit of structure becomes a signal to your brain. You're safe, you're in control, you can rest now. Over time, you'll notice something powerful. The things that once felt impossible start feeling simple. The tasks that once overwhelmed you become manageable. Your thoughts slow down, your reactions soften, and your focus sharpens. That's not luck, that's design. And it's not just about routines or checklists. Systems are also emotional. They guide how you respond when things go wrong. When stress hits, instead of spiraling, you can pause, breathe, and follow a pattern that brings you back to center. That's emotional structure, and it's just as important as physical organization. A calm mind isn't numb, it's trained. It knows how to return to balance even after being shaken. You deserve that kind of steadiness. You deserve mornings that begin with calm, not panic. You deserve nights that end in peace, not exhaustion. You deserve to move through your days with clarity, not confusion. And you can, not by changing who you are, but by changing the system around you. Every time you create a process that removes stress, you reclaim a little more peace. Every time you simplify something that used to drain you, you take back another piece of energy. You begin to live intentionally, not reactively. It doesn't happen all at once, but piece by piece, decision by decision, your systems start to carry you. You stop relying on discipline alone. You stop living in constant catch-up mode. You wake up, follow your rhythm, and realize your life feels lighter. Your thoughts are calmer. Your focus is stronger. That's not an accident. That's the quiet reward of a well-built system. So from this moment forward, don't wait for calm to find you. Build it. Create it through repetition, through preparation, through patterns that protect your energy. Let your systems be your anchor when the noise rises. Let them remind you that you don't need to do everything at once. Just the next thing that matters. Because peace isn't found in stillness alone. It's found in structure. It's found in knowing that even when everything feels uncertain, your foundation is solid. You can't control the world, but you can control your systems. And when those systems are strong, your mind is strong. You don't have to fight every storm. You just have to build a shelter that stands when it comes. You don't have to survive every rush of pressure. You just have to design a rhythm that absorbs it. You don't have to wait for clarity. You can create it. One decision, one routine, one small system at a time. And when you do, you'll look back and realize that calm was never a distant goal. It was something you could have built all along. That's how you take back control. That's how you transform overwhelm into order. Not by force, but by design. In a world that glorifies speed, the real mark of strength is not how fast you move, but how still you can stand when everything around you demands motion. True leadership begins the moment you learn to stay calm when others panic, to make deliberate choices when everyone else is reacting. Because the person who can keep their mind steady in a storm doesn't just survive it, they shape it. Power is quiet, influence is calm, and authority is not something you shout, it's something you carry. When your presence brings order to chaos, when people around you begin to feel grounded simply because you are, that's when you've stepped into a higher form of control, the kind that can't be taken, only earned through clarity, composure, and trust in your own rhythm. So as you step into the next chapter, remember this: the world doesn't follow the loudest person in the room. It follows the calmest one, the one who moves with purpose, leads with stillness, and turns discipline into peace. That's not just balance, that's power, the kind that makes you unshakable. Chapter 5, Stop Chasing Outcomes and Fix What You Repeat. If your life isn't changing, it's not because you don't want it enough. It's because you keep repeating the same days that built the version of you you're trying to outgrow. Most people don't fail because they dream too small. They fail because they repeat too much of what keeps them the same. They chase outcomes like prizes to be caught, never realizing that outcomes don't change the person. Repetition does. We love to imagine results. We love to picture the reward, the job, the recognition, the approval, the moment everything finally feels right. But results are never spontaneous. They're constructed quietly, over time, by the small behaviors we allow and the routines we refuse to challenge. You can picture success all you want. You can pray for it, post about it, or make promises to yourself at midnight. But if your actions don't change, your outcome won't either. The harsh truth is simple. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your habits. The habits you build are the foundation beneath every dream you chase. If that foundation stays weak, every victory will collapse the moment you stop paying attention. That's why most people never truly change. They sprint after a new goal without repairing the system underneath. They celebrate temporary results and call it transformation, but it's not. It's a moment of luck built on old patterns that never left. You can't plant the same seeds and expect a different harvest. Chasing outcomes feels exciting because it lets you live in the fantasy of what could be. It gives you the rush of imagining the after without the discomfort of facing your now. But that excitement is a lie. It burns bright and fades fast. And every time it fades, it leaves you with the same quiet frustration. The feeling that you keep working hard but somehow never getting anywhere new. If you want to know why your life isn't moving, stop asking about the finish line and start studying your repetitions. What do you keep doing when no one's around? What actions do you return to when you're tired, anxious, or bored? Those patterns are the blueprint of your future. We like to tell ourselves stories about effort. I'm trying. I'm working on it. I'll start soon. But what actually defines you are the things you repeat on autopilot. The things you do without thinking. How you start your morning, how you handle stress, how you speak to yourself when you fail. Every small repetition is a vote for the person you're becoming. You don't change your life by rewriting your goals. You change it by rewriting your normal. Every day, you're building a system. Most people don't realize it because their system is unintentional. They react, they improvise, they let moods decide movement, and then they wonder why progress never lasts. But once you start seeing your life as a collection of systems, every routine, every habit, every mindset loop, you start to understand the power of repetition. You start to realize you're not just living, you're practicing. Every action you take is practice for the kind of person you're training yourself to become. If you spend every morning scrolling before you think, you're practicing distraction. If you spend every evening complaining about how tired you are, you're practicing victimhood. If you spend every day avoiding discomfort, you're practicing weakness. Repetition builds skill, and what you repeat daily is the skill you master, whether you mean to or not. So the question becomes, what are you mastering? Are you mastering procrastination or progress? Are you mastering excuses or execution? Are you mastering chaos or calm? Most people don't want to admit the answer because it means facing the truth that their repetitions are training them to lose. But this is where change begins, not in shame, but in awareness. You can't transform what you won't acknowledge. Fixing what you repeat begins with one honest look at your daily loops. You don't have to analyze your entire life. Just pay attention. Notice what you return to again and again. The phone, the snacks, the shortcuts, the small lies you tell yourself that keep you comfortable. Every one of those moments is a repetition that's voting for your current reality. You can want a new outcome, but if your patterns stay the same, your life will not move. And even if it does for a moment, even if you somehow hit the goal, it won't last because the foundation underneath it hasn't evolved. That's why people can lose weight and gain it back, earn money and blow it, build discipline and then lose it all within months. They didn't fix the pattern. They changed the circumstance, not the system. True change isn't about trying harder. It's about replacing the repetition that keeps breaking you. When you finally stop and look at your patterns, you'll find that most of them are small. They don't scream failure. They whisper it quietly, through wasted minutes and missed intentions. You don't need to destroy them all at once. You just need to start replacing one. Pick one habit that drains you, one routine that steals your time, one default reaction that keeps you stuck. Then build something better in its place, not through force, but through design. If you keep skipping workouts, stop promising yourself hours at the gym. Start with one simple movement you can repeat. If you keep eating to escape your feelings, pause for 60 seconds before you reach for anything. Name what you're feeling. Name it out loud. Awareness weakens the loop. If you keep losing hours to distraction, move your phone out of reach during the first hour of your morning. Create friction between you and the behavior that hurts you. You don't need perfection. You need momentum. One small, consistent upgrade will change your life faster than 100 perfect intentions ever will. Because repetition builds identity. And once identity shifts, discipline becomes effortless. You don't have to fight to stay consistent with what you believe you are. That's the secret of transformation. Once you identify as someone who follows through, you don't negotiate with yourself anymore. You just do what you said you'd do. But that identity doesn't appear overnight. It's built the same way everything else is built, through repetition. Every time you choose awareness over autopilot, you carve a new path in your brain. You teach yourself that change is possible. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, no one claps for it. But this quiet work, this daily correction, is what separates the dreamers from the doers. You have to look at your life not as a list of goals, but as a set of systems. Every system is giving you exactly the result it's designed for. So if you don't like your results, stop blaming motivation. Fix the design. Ask yourself better questions. Not, why am I not successful yet? But what pattern is keeping me average? Not, why do I keep failing? But what habit is setting me up to fail before I start? When you ask those questions with honesty, you reclaim power. Because the moment you understand your repetition, you can reprogram it. You no longer feel stuck. You no longer feel stuck. You know exactly what's holding you back, and that clarity changes everything. Every system in your life is either moving you forward or pulling you backward. There is no neutral. The way you eat, rest, speak, and think, it's either helping you grow or helping you stay small. Responsibility begins when you finally stop pretending those small things don't matter. You are not trapped because of one big mistake. You are trapped because of the tiny things you repeat without noticing. The distractions, the delays, the "I'll do it tomorrow." But every pattern can be replaced. Every loop can be rewritten. That's the real power of awareness. Once you see the pattern, it loses its control over you. Once you name it, you can redesign it. You'll know you're changing when life starts to feel different before it looks different. When you start feeling calm instead of rushed, steady instead of scattered, proud instead of guilty. Those shifts mean your internal system is changing even before the external results show up. That's the moment most people miss. They quit before they feel the reward because they're still measuring success by what they can see. But real transformation happens invisibly first. You can't see the roots before the bloom, but they're growing all the same. When you fix what you repeat, progress becomes inevitable. It might not happen fast, but it will happen permanently. You'll notice yourself handling stress with composure. You'll stop chasing validation because you trust your effort. You'll start moving through your days with clarity instead of confusion. That's the payoff. A calm mind, a steady rhythm, a system that carries you forward without constant force. From now on, stop measuring your growth by how far you have to go. Measure it by how different your daily repetitions feel. If you've changed how you act when no one's watching, you've already changed the outcome. The results you want will eventually show up, not as miracles, but as proof. Proof that your system works. Proof that your repetitions are aligned. Proof that the person you decided to become is finally leading your life. So stop chasing outcomes. Fix what you repeat. Every time you take control of a small behavior, you take control of your direction. Every time you choose to replace a pattern instead of repeat it, you strengthen the quiet authority that builds all real success. This is the work that lasts. It's not about speed. It's not about applause. It's about ownership, the decision to stop letting old systems decide your future. Because in the end, the finish line is not where you become powerful. You become powerful in the repetition that no one sees, in the patterns you choose when it's easier not to care, in the small moments that look like nothing but add up to everything. The outcome isn't the reward. The person you become while building it is. And once you understand that, your focus will shift forever, from chasing results to becoming the kind of person who creates them again and again without needing the world's permission. That's the kind of discipline that can't be faked. That's the kind of repetition that can't be stopped. You don't wait for results like that. You build them. One repetition at a time, until success feels inevitable, because now it is. True leadership begins long before anyone calls you a leader. It starts in the quiet discipline of your own mind, in the steady rhythm of how you carry yourself when pressure builds and the world demands reaction. Power isn't the ability to control others, it's the ability to control yourself, to hold composure when emotions flare, to stay deliberate when everything around you is loud and uncertain. The kind of authority that lasts is not built through dominance, but through calm, through the quiet confidence of someone who has mastered the art of patience and precision. When you can think clearly in chaos, when your tone stays level while others raise theirs. When your choices come from purpose instead of impulse, that's when you stop chasing control and start embodying it. Because the world doesn't follow the person who moves the fastest. It follows the one who moves with the most certainty. And in that stillness, in that balance between strength and restraint, real leadership is born. Chapter 6. Train your brain to crave daily small wins. Your brain is always learning. Every thought, every habit, every reaction is teaching it what to crave, what to avoid, what to repeat. It remembers what felt safe, what felt good, what brought comfort or relief, and it uses that memory to steer you, moment after moment, toward what feels familiar. Over time, that familiarity becomes your pattern, and without realizing it, you begin chasing the same feelings again and again, even when those feelings keep you stuck. Most people don't know they've already trained their minds, not toward growth, but toward escape. They've wired their brains to chase the quick dopamine hits of distraction, comfort, validation, or relief. Scroll a little, snack a little, post something, check the response. It's not weakness, it's programming. But what's built can be rebuilt. Because the same way your brain learned to chase escape, it can learn to crave progress. You can condition yourself to find satisfaction not in avoidance, but in achievement. You can teach your mind that movement feels better than delay, that discipline feels better than drifting, that doing the right thing feels more rewarding than running from discomfort. This isn't willpower, it's wiring. And the key to rewiring it lies in something deceptively simple: small wins. Big goals inspire you for a moment, but small wins change you forever. They're close enough to touch, clear enough to measure, and real enough for your brain to believe in. Each one becomes a message to yourself that says, I can follow through. It's quiet proof that you are capable. Not someday, not when the conditions are perfect, but now, today. When you start stacking small wins, you start to notice that progress isn't distant anymore. It's right in front of you, waiting to be claimed. That's when your mindset begins to shift. Confidence stops being a theory and becomes evidence. You stop waiting for something big to make you proud because you've started proving yourself right every day. The problem is, most people only celebrate what's loud. They wait until the achievement is visible before they let themselves feel good. They tell themselves they'll relax when the money arrives, or when the number on the scale changes, or when someone finally notices. But your brain doesn't work that way. It can't survive on delayed rewards. If you only feel proud once in a while, you'll lose motivation long before you reach the milestone. You need daily evidence. You need to give your brain something it can hold, something that says, see, you're doing it. That's what small wins give you. They feed the loop of progress. They remind you that movement is happening, even when you can't see the whole picture yet. Imagine this. You wake up, finish your morning routine, drink water, and take 5 minutes to plan your day. That's a win. You say no to an unnecessary distraction. That's a win. You finish something you've been avoiding. That's another win. These moments may look ordinary, but they are not small. They are structural. Each one tells your mind, progress feels good, and your brain listens. The more often it feels that satisfaction, the more it craves it again. This is how discipline becomes easier. Not by force, but by conditioning. You're not pushing yourself anymore. You're pulling yourself forward. You're creating a reward system around growth, and your mind starts to seek that reward automatically. But to make this real, you can't leave it to chance. Small wins don't just happen. You build them. You design your day so they're unavoidable. You give yourself 2 or 3 moments that are simple, specific, and connected to who you want to become. Not grand gestures, not heavy goals, just clear steps that carry momentum. Finish the workout, write the paragraph, have the conversation you've been avoiding. When you complete one, pause. Don't rush to the next. Feel it. That pause, that small second of I did it, is what teaches your brain to chase progress again. Every time you honor a promise to yourself, you strengthen your internal credibility. You teach your mind that you're someone who follows through, and that belief, once built, is unstoppable. The reason so many people lose passion is not that they fail. It's that they never let themselves feel their wins. They move too fast to notice progress. They treat everything as a to-do list, checking off boxes without acknowledgement, and then wonder why it all feels empty. But your brain can't distinguish between real failure and ignored success. If you never pause to feel the reward, your mind assumes nothing meaningful happened, and eventually, it stops trying. So slow down, record your wins, reflect on them. Not for vanity, for evidence. Every small act completed is proof that you're moving forward, proof that your effort matters, proof that the day wasn't wasted. Maybe your win is that you stayed calm in a situation that used to ignite you. Maybe you finally replied to the email you've avoided for weeks. Maybe you didn't reach for your phone when you felt anxious. Maybe you made your bed when you didn't feel like it. Those moments are not trivial. They're transformational because they reinforce a powerful story. You are capable of keeping your word to yourself. Once your brain starts associating progress with positive feeling, everything changes. The hard things become lighter. The work stops feeling like punishment. You stop needing constant external validation because the satisfaction is internal. You've built a system where growth itself becomes rewarding. And that's the secret to long-term consistency, making the right thing feel good. You'll notice that when you stop waiting for big victories, your energy becomes stable. You no longer crash between extremes of motivation and exhaustion. You start operating on quiet confidence instead of emotional spikes. Some days will still feel heavy. That's life. But when your brain is trained to look for progress, even hard days have light in them. You might not win the whole battle, but you'll still find a small victory to end the day with. Maybe it's that you showed up when you didn't want to. Maybe it's that you didn't quit. That's still progress. That's still a win. When you stack enough of those wins together, something profound happens. Your self-respect returns. You begin to like who you are becoming. You begin to trust yourself. You stop saying, "I hope I can," and start saying, "I know I will." That shift is priceless, because once you trust yourself, you stop living from pressure and start living from power. This is how you train your brain to crave growth instead of escape, repetition, reinforcement, reflection. The more you reward effort, the stronger that craving becomes. And soon, you'll find that your mind no longer looks for ways to avoid difficulty. It looks for chances to overcome it. The science is simple. What gets rewarded gets repeated. Every time you recognize progress, you fire the same neural pathways that build confidence. Ignore the win, and you weaken them. Celebrate the win, even silently, and you strengthen them. Over time, your brain begins to prefer the feeling of progress over the illusion of comfort. That's why it's not indulgent to be proud of small things. It's essential. It's psychological maintenance. If you only reward yourself for massive outcomes, you starve your motivation. But if you feed it daily, it grows stronger than fear, stronger than distraction, stronger than doubt. Your job isn't to wait until you're extraordinary. It's to notice the ordinary moments that are shaping you. The small decision to start, the short walk when you could have stayed still, the moment you choose honesty over habit. These are not filler moments, they're foundations. Each small win is like a brick. On its own, it doesn't look like much, but stack enough of them and you build something strong enough to stand on. A life with structure, confidence, and calm. The mind you're building is a mind that thrives on progress. A mind that wants to keep moving forward even when it's tired. That's how you make discipline sustainable. You make it satisfying. You make it human. So build the habit of reflection. At the end of each day, take 60 seconds to acknowledge what went right. Don't rush. Don't minimize. Don't move on without letting the reward register. You're not doing this to inflate your ego. You're doing it to feed your focus. Because when your brain feels the reward of effort, it begins to crave it again and again and again. That's how momentum is built. That's how consistency stops being effort and starts being instinct. In time, you'll notice that the little things become easier to do. You won't dread the work. You'll look forward to the feeling afterward. You'll find yourself chasing the next moment of follow-through, not out of guilt, but out of satisfaction. That's when you know your brain has been retrained, when growth starts to feel natural, and the distractions that once ruled you begin to lose their pull. And the beautiful part is this: you don't need perfection to make it work. You just need presence. You just need awareness. You just need to show up today and create one win that belongs to you. Make the call, drink the water, clean the space, finish the thing you promised yourself you would. The act doesn't have to be impressive. It just has to be completed. Completion is the language your brain understands. You can build an entire life out of these moments. A life built on self-respect, on momentum, on the steady rhythm of doing small things well. That's what great relationships, great careers, great health, and great peace are all built on. Repetition, not bursts. When you learn to see small wins as sacred, your entire perspective shifts. You no longer live waiting for a miracle. You become the person who manufactures progress. You stop chasing extraordinary and start mastering ordinary. You stop looking for motivation because momentum itself becomes your motivation. Progress isn't something you reach someday. It's something you do today, and then again tomorrow. Each repetition adds another layer to who you're becoming. So don't overlook the small wins. They're not the warm-up. They're the way. They are the rhythm of growth, the evidence of self-respect, the path out of hesitation and into mastery. You don't need to wait for life to give you something to celebrate. Celebrate the fact that you showed up. Celebrate the moment you kept your word. Celebrate that your effort meant something, even if no one saw it but you. Because every time you acknowledge that, your brain learns something powerful, that you are safe in effort, that you are rewarded in discipline, that progress feels good. And once your brain learns that lesson, you'll never have to force yourself again. Growth will become your instinct. Effort will become your peace. You won't just chase success, you'll live inside it, one small win at a time. When you learn to celebrate the smallest victories, you stop waiting for life to prove your worth. You begin to live from a place of steady control, not chasing peaks, not fearing valleys, just moving forward with quiet certainty. Because power isn't built in grand achievements, it's built in the patience to keep showing up, in the discipline to finish what you start, and in the calm belief that progress is already happening, even when no one sees it. The mind trained to find meaning in small wins becomes the mind that never quits, the mind that leads itself. And that's where real strength begins. Chapter 7. Change what you do, not how you feel. Most people never move because they're waiting for a feeling that never comes. They tell themselves, once I feel ready, I'll start. Once I feel confident, I'll speak. Once I feel motivated, I'll act. But life doesn't wait for your emotions to line up. The truth is, you don't act because you feel ready. You feel ready because you act. Feelings are unstable. They shift with the weather, with a single conversation, with the tone of someone's voice. One moment you're inspired, the next you're tired. One small doubt, one bad night of sleep, one careless comment, and suddenly your entire motivation disappears. That's why you can't build your life on emotion. You have to build it on motion. The strongest people you know don't wake up every day bursting with drive. They wake up with resistance too, but they've trained themselves to move anyway. They've learned that feelings are waves. They come, they go, and they don't mean much unless you let them decide your direction. If you always wait until you feel like it, you'll live your whole life on pause. Waiting for the perfect emotional temperature to take a step forward is like waiting for the wind to stop before you learn to sail. You don't calm the sea by standing still. You calm yourself by learning how to move through it. That's what emotional maturity looks like. Not being free of emotion, but being guided by something stronger than emotion. Your values, your decisions, your self-respect. You can feel tired and still keep a promise. You can feel afraid and still take the step. You can feel uncertain and still follow through. Because feelings don't define your ability. They just test your commitment. The reason so many people feel stuck isn't because they don't know what to do. It's because they believe they have to feel right before they do it. They wait for clarity, confidence, or calm before they move. And when it doesn't come, they stay still. And every day they stay still, they build proof in their own mind that they can't act without permission from their mood. That's how weakness is built, not from failure, but from waiting. If you want to feel different, you have to do different. Action is the antidote to almost every negative emotion. When you move, your chemistry changes, your focus sharpens, your energy lifts. You start to feel more capable, not because something magical happened, but because your brain starts catching up with your effort. That's why progress feels like medicine. It clears the fog of emotion faster than thinking ever could. You don't need to fix your feelings before you act. You fix them by acting. You don't need motivation to start. You start, and motivation comes afterward. And yet, this is where most people stop. They say, but I don't feel like it. As if that's a good enough reason not to try. They think rest will help, or comfort will cure, or time will change something. But it doesn't. Comfort keeps you stuck. Time keeps you drifting. The only thing that breaks that loop is movement. Small, deliberate, repeated movement. When you move through resistance, you tell your brain something powerful. I don't have to obey my feelings anymore. That's the moment you start reclaiming control. Because emotions aren't enemies, they're signals. But signals aren't commands. You can listen without obeying. You can acknowledge without surrendering. You can feel everything and still do what matters. That's what strength looks like. You don't need to feel inspired to work. You don't need to feel brave to act. You don't need to feel disciplined to be disciplined. Those are choices, not moods. Every time you show up on the days you didn't want to, you're building something far stronger than motivation. You're building trust, self-trust. The belief that even when you're tired, anxious, or unsure, you will still follow through. That's where confidence truly comes from. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It's the evidence that you can act while afraid. So stop giving your emotions the final vote. You don't owe your moods agreement. You owe your future consistency. You will never feel perfect every day, but you can choose to act with purpose every day. Some days you'll feel unstoppable. Others you'll feel heavy. Some mornings you'll wake up full of energy. Others you'll just want to hide. That's human. But if you can keep moving on those low days, you become unshakable. That's how identity changes. Not when you feel different, but when you act different long enough that your feelings have no choice but to follow. When you live this way, your relationship with emotion transforms. You stop fighting how you feel and start leading it. You stop asking, "Do I feel ready?" and start saying, "What's the next right thing to do?" And once you learn to act through resistance, something quiet but powerful happens inside you. You begin to trust yourself again. You stop relying on the roller coaster of emotion to dictate your effort. You stop letting your mood decide your progress. Because now you've learned to separate feelings from facts. You can be tired and still be effective. You can be scared and still be brave. You can be uncertain and still be consistent. That's what real self-control feels like. It's not emotionless, it's emotionally intelligent. It's being able to say, "I know how I feel, and I know what I'll do anyway." The more you practice this, the more your emotions begin to respect your actions. They stop trying to control you because they learn you won't bend easily. Your doubt gets quieter. Your fear softens. Your hesitation loses its power. Action makes emotion follow. Always. When you feel anxious and you move anyway, you teach your body that anxiety is not danger. When you feel lazy and you start anyway, you teach your brain that effort creates relief. When you feel unmotivated and you finish the task anyway, you teach yourself that action is stronger than mood. That's how discipline is built, not by erasing feelings, but by learning to work through them. So when the day feels heavy, move anyway. When your mind says you can't, answer with proof that you can. When doubt whispers, let action interrupt it. Because every time you act, even in a small way, you're not just doing the task, you're rewriting your identity. And identity is what changes everything. You can't wait for emotional permission to build your future. You have to decide, right here, right now, that your feelings can exist, but they don't get to drive. They can ride in the car, but your decisions hold the wheel. When you start living this way, you stop being reactive. You stop spiraling every time something feels off. You start responding instead of collapsing. That's what calm looks like, not absence of feeling, but presence of control. This is the difference between emotional chaos and emotional command, and it starts with one simple truth. You don't need to feel better to do better. You just need to start. Because once you start, your emotions will catch up. They always do. You can't force yourself to feel confident, but you can do the thing that builds confidence. You can't wait to feel fearless, but you can act in spite of fear. You can't depend on motivation, but you can depend on structure. That's how you move from hesitation to habit. You are not your feelings. You are the one who chooses what they mean. You are the one who decides what happens next. And when you act from that place, with awareness, with consistency, with calm defiance of emotion, you step into a level of power that few people ever reach. That's what mastery is. Not perfect control, but practiced command. You don't have to feel ready. You just have to move. And one day, you'll look back and realize that all those moments you acted through resistance were the moments that built your strength, your clarity, your peace. Because feelings fade, but the life you build through disciplined action, that stays. You will discover that what you once thought was weakness was only hesitation. What you once thought was laziness was only fear. What you once thought was lack of motivation was simply the absence of movement. Because the moment you begin, the moment you take the smallest action, everything inside you starts to shift. You may still feel discomfort, But you'll also feel something else. Power. Power that comes from knowing you didn't let your emotions decide your direction. Power that comes from proving to yourself that you can lead even when you don't feel like a leader. Power that comes from evidence, real, lived evidence, that you are capable of showing up, especially when it's hard. The next time you find yourself waiting for the right feeling, stop and remember this. The action you avoid because you feel unready is the very action that will make you ready. The conversation you postpone because you feel nervous is the one that will build your courage. The workout you skip because you feel tired is the one that will give you energy. The work you delay because you feel overwhelmed is the one that will restore your clarity. Life rewards those who move, not those who wait. And once you see that for yourself, hesitation begins to die. You stop waiting for emotions to improve before you begin. You begin, and that act alone improves everything. That's the moment discipline becomes freedom, when doing what's right feels lighter than avoiding it, when the act itself gives more relief than the excuse ever could. So stop waiting for the right mood. Build patterns that move without permission. Give structure to your days so your emotions don't get a vote every time you're unsure. The stronger your system, the less convincing your excuses sound. The more you act with clarity, the less energy you waste on arguing with yourself. You're not a machine, but you are built for endurance. You were designed to keep going, even when the mind wants to rest. Don't let a temporary emotion steal a permanent opportunity. Don't let a passing feeling define your effort. You don't owe your emotions obedience, you owe your potential a chance. This is what emotional discipline looks like in real life. It's not cold, it's not robotic, it's strong, patient, and calm. It's the kind of steadiness that separates those who drift from those who lead. Because the world doesn't reward those who feel ready. It rewards those who move when it counts. And the truth is, you already know what to do. You've always known. The only thing left is to do it, no matter how you feel. Because one day, when you look back, you won't remember the days you felt good. You'll remember the days you didn't feel like it, but did it anyway. Those are the days that build everything worth keeping: self-respect, discipline, resilience, and peace. So move first, feel later. Build your life not on emotion, but on intention. Because the person who can act through any mood is the one who can handle any storm. True power begins when you stop asking your emotions for permission to live. Because the person who can move through doubt, through fear, through fatigue, without losing direction, that person is unshakable. You can't control every feeling that rises, but you can control every step that follows. And the more you act from purpose instead of mood, the more calm you become inside the storm. That's where real authority begins, not in how you feel, but in what you do when it matters most. Chapter 8: Design your routine to reduce overthinking daily. Overthinking doesn't mean you're broken. It means your mind is working without a map. It means you've trained yourself to survive in chaos so long that stillness feels unsafe and silence feels like something's missing. The truth is, most people aren't tired because their lives are hard. They're tired because their minds never stop negotiating what to do next. Every day feels like a maze of small choices that drain energy long before real work begins. You wake up and your brain starts sprinting before you've even opened your eyes. What time is it? What's waiting today? Should I check that message? What should I eat? Do I have enough time? Am I behind already? The mind turns ordinary mornings into mental marathons. By midday, you've fought 100 invisible battles, and by evening, you're too drained to focus, though you can't explain why. That's not laziness. That's decision fatigue, the exhaustion that comes from carrying 1,000 tiny, unfinished thoughts. The human brain was never designed to make endless decisions in real time. It needs structure the way the body needs rest. When there's no plan, the mind improvises. And when the mind improvises too long, it starts to spin. You replay conversations, question every choice, wonder if you're doing enough, and spend more time managing thoughts than living life. That's what overthinking does. It tricks you into believing you're being productive while it slowly steals your clarity. But you can train your brain to rest, not by forcing it to stop thinking, but by giving it rhythm. The mind doesn't need more motivation. It needs fewer open loops. That's why routine isn't a restriction. It's a rescue. It's the invisible frame that holds your day together so your thoughts can finally breathe. Start where you are. Stop trying to rebuild your entire life in one morning. Just give your brain one small pattern to hold on to. A predictable flow that says, we've been here before. We know what to do next. Maybe that's drinking a glass of water the moment you wake up. Maybe it's journaling for 3 minutes or taking a short walk before you touch your phone. It doesn't matter what it looks like. What matters is that it gives your mind direction before the world starts demanding its attention. The goal isn't perfection, it's peace. You don't need to plan every second of your day. You just need to make enough decisions ahead of time that your brain doesn't have to keep asking questions it already knows the answer to. When your day has rhythm, energy returns. You stop debating simple things. You stop arguing with yourself over every task. You start flowing from one moment to the next, not because life got easier, but because you removed the clutter that made it hard. Structure is not the enemy of freedom. Chaos is. People say they want spontaneity, but what they really want is peace. And peace only exists where there's order. The more decisions you remove from your plate, the more mental energy you have for creativity, connection, and problem solving. The things that actually make life rich. That's the real beauty of a routine. It doesn't cage you. It clears the fog. It tells your mind, relax, we've got this. When you know what happens next, you stop wasting energy preparing for imaginary problems. Your morning becomes a launch pad instead of a battlefield. Your afternoon becomes focus instead of distraction. Your evening becomes recovery instead of regret. And slowly, overthinking begins to dissolve. Not because you forced it away, but because it no longer has space to grow. But remember, the system you design must serve you, not strangle you. A good routine feels like rhythm, not prison. It should fit your life, your values, your energy. You don't need a perfect schedule. You need one that works often enough to create consistency. The goal is not to control every moment. It's to remove the moments that control you. You can even start by identifying the 3 parts of your day that drain you most. Mornings when you rush, build preparation the night before. Afternoons when you lose focus, block a quiet hour for recovery. Evenings when you can't slow down, build a ritual that signals peace. Music, dim light, stillness, reflection. These small, repeatable rhythms tell your brain that life is safe again, that it no longer has to run at full speed to stay afloat. Even your digital world deserves boundaries. Overthinking doesn't always start in the mind. Sometimes it starts in your pocket. Every notification pulls your attention somewhere else. Every scroll tells your brain there's something you're missing. But you're not missing anything real, just presence. Create rules that protect that presence. Check your phone at set times. Turn off alerts that don't serve your peace. Build quiet hours where your brain can reset without noise. And don't forget rest. Not scrolling on the couch, not half sleeping with your phone glowing beside you, but genuine rest, the kind where your mind is still enough to heal. Recovery is not laziness. It's maintenance. It's giving your thoughts a place to land. A strong routine isn't about control. It's about care. It's saying, I respect my mind enough to stop overloading it. When your system is clear, you no longer have to think about every small thing. You just live. You flow. You feel lighter, not because the world changed, but because you did. And here's the quiet truth. Overthinking isn't a flaw to fix. It's a signal. It's your brain saying, I don't feel safe yet. Routines create safety. They give your mind proof that life is predictable, that it doesn't have to solve everything all at once. That's why high performers, artists, leaders, the calm ones, guard their routines fiercely. They know that without structure, their creativity burns out. Without rhythm, their focus collapses. Without rest, their mind starts shouting louder than it should. The more structure you build, the more silence you find inside yourself. And in that silence, something beautiful happens. Thoughts slow down, attention deepens, and life becomes less about reaction and more about creation. You start moving from chaos to clarity, from guessing to knowing, from surviving to leading. Overthinking fades the moment structure takes its place. Because when your mind knows what to do next, it stops trying to solve what doesn't need solving. You stop drowning in options. You start swimming in focus. So design your day like it's sacred. Wake with rhythm, move with purpose, end with peace, Simplify what drains you. Automate what distracts you. Protect what restores you. Because when your routine is aligned with your values, your mind finally feels at home in your life. That's not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming present. And presence, not control, is what ends overthinking. When your day moves with intention, your brain learns it can stop fighting for control. It starts trusting your actions. It starts resting inside your choices. And that's when you rediscover the one thing every overthinker secretly wants: quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't need to predict everything because it knows it can handle anything. Peace doesn't arrive when the noise disappears. It arrives when you no longer need the noise to feel alive. A well-designed routine is not about control. It's about trust, trusting yourself enough to move through each day without questioning every step. Trusting that calm can be stronger than chaos. Trusting that structure can carry you when emotion cannot. Because when your life begins to flow with rhythm, your thoughts stop shouting for direction. And in that quiet, you finally realize clarity was never hiding from you. It was waiting for you to slow down enough to hear it. Chapter 9. Stay with systems when results feel too slow. Anyone can stay disciplined when things are working. It's easy to feel consistent when your progress is visible, when the scale moves, when people notice, when momentum rewards your effort with little signs that you're on the right path. But the real test, the one that separates those who build lasting change from those who only flirt with it, comes when everything slows down. When you keep showing up and nothing seems to shift. When you do the right thing again and again, and all you get back is silence. That silence is where most people quit. Not because they're weak, not because they lack ambition, but because they mistake stillness for failure. They believe nothing's happening simply because they can't see it yet. But transformation doesn't work on your schedule. Growth often hides in the quiet. Progress builds in secret beneath the surface where no one can measure it yet. Not even you. It's happening in the small moments you dismiss, in the invisible rewiring of your habits, in the subtle changes in how you respond to life's challenges. You may not feel it every day, but it's there, gathering strength like roots growing underground. We live in a world addicted to speed, quick feedback, fast validation, instant gratification. Everything around you screams for urgency. Likes, notifications, results that come with a single click. So when progress slows, your mind starts to panic. You assume something's wrong. You start overthinking, questioning every step, doubting your plan, and convincing yourself that maybe you should do more, try harder, or change everything. But the truth is, you don't need a new system. You just need to stay with the one you built long enough for it to work. Consistency doesn't always feel productive. It often feels boring, repetitive, unglamorous. It's showing up when excitement has faded, when motivation is gone, when nobody's watching, and when you're tired of telling yourself, keep going. But that's exactly when your identity is being built. Because every time you act without reward, you're teaching yourself that discipline doesn't need applause. You're proving that you can keep your word even when life doesn't clap for you. And that quiet strength, the kind you earn in silence, is the foundation of everything lasting. Slow progress isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's the phase where your system is doing deep work that can't be rushed. Think about a seed buried underground. You water it, you give it sunlight, and for weeks, nothing happens. You check every morning, hoping to see something change, and all you see is dirt. But beneath that surface, something is happening. Roots are forming, foundations are strengthening, and life is building in silence. That's what your process is doing. Every repetition is a drop of water. Every day of consistency is sunlight. Every moment you choose patience instead of panic, you're building something that will last longer than any quick win ever could. The problem is that people crave dramatic change. They want the moment of visible transformation, the big reveal, the before and after, the story that proves it was worth it. But real progress rarely announces itself. It doesn't arrive with fireworks. It arrives in whispers, in small decisions, in steady habits, in quiet days when you think you're stuck, but you're actually getting stronger. When you stay with your system through slow seasons, you're developing a kind of patience that can't be faked. You're teaching your mind to value process over praise, effort over excitement. You're learning to find meaning not in how fast you move, but in how faithfully you continue. And that kind of consistency rewires your identity from the inside out. It shifts you from chasing validation to building conviction. Every habit you repeat without reward is a brick in the foundation of self-trust. Every time you finish the workout no one saw, write the page no one read, or choose discipline over comfort when it would have been easier not to, you strengthen the part of you that doesn't quit. That's how confidence is built. Not from the results you get, but from the evidence you keep creating that you can rely on yourself. You don't have to feel successful to be successful. You just have to stay honest with your effort. Results may move slowly, but they move surely. Life doesn't always show you progress in real time. It tests whether you can keep moving without it. That's what separates those who finish from those who fade. The finish line isn't reached by speed. It's reached by rhythm, steady, imperfect rhythm that outlasts doubt. You will have days when everything inside you whispers, "Why keep going?" You'll wonder if all this patience even matters. You'll look around and see others moving faster, getting noticed, getting rewarded, and you'll be tempted to chase their path instead of trusting your own. Don't. Fast progress doesn't always mean real progress. Sometimes what looks like acceleration is just someone sprinting toward burnout. You're building differently. You're building deeply. Staying with your system when it feels slow is not a sign of stubbornness. It's a sign of wisdom. You've learned that time is not your enemy. Impatience is. The system isn't just a plan, it's your safety net. It keeps you grounded when the world tries to pull you back into chaos. It holds you steady when motivation vanishes. It's the structure that carries you when your feelings don't. And even when progress seems invisible, remember this: slow progress is still progress. You are not standing still just because you can't measure movement. Some changes happen too quietly to track. They live in your posture, in your patience, in the way you talk to yourself when no one hears. Think about how far you've already come. The version of you who started this journey was more fragile, more reactive, more dependent on proof. The version of you now understands that strength doesn't always feel strong. It sometimes feels like exhaustion that didn't win. It feels like the effort that didn't stop. It feels like calm persistence when your emotions want chaos. That's what real transformation looks like: uneventful, repetitive, but powerful. So when the process feels quiet, trust it. When results are slow, stay still inside your discipline. Don't scramble for more strategies. Don't break what's working just because you crave speed. Keep showing up for your system like it's your lifeline, because it is. The person who can stay committed without constant proof becomes unstoppable. One day, without realizing it, the roots you've been watering will break through the surface. The small actions will begin to compound. The habits will turn into identity. And you'll wake up one morning and realize you no longer have to force consistency. You've become it. The work that once required effort now feels natural. The patience that once felt heavy now feels like power. And the life that once felt stuck now feels steady. That's the gift of staying with your system. It gives you time to become the kind of person who no longer doubts the process. Because the truth is, you don't win by moving fast. You win by not stopping. You don't rise by emotion. You rise by endurance. So when progress feels invisible, don't change direction. Double down on what's already right. Trust the slow work. Let patience become your quiet form of strength. The people who reach their potential aren't the ones who always feel inspired. They're the ones who keep doing what matters long after the excitement fades. Stay with your system when results feel too slow. Stay through the quiet seasons, the dull repetitions, the days that feel like nothing's happening. Because those days are doing more for you than you can imagine. The seed doesn't grow because it wants to. It grows because it stays buried long enough to take root. You're doing the same. Keep watering. Keep waiting. Keep believing that what's unseen is still unfolding. Because one day, when patience and consistency meet, you'll realize the delay was never a denial. It was preparation for something stronger, deeper, and lasting. That's how the invisible becomes visible. That's how slow turns into steady. And that's how you build a life that doesn't collapse when results take their time. Real mastery isn't built in the moments when everything works. It's built in the quiet hours when nothing seems to move. Yet you keep showing up anyway. Because strength isn't proven by how fast you climb, but by how long you can stand when progress disappears from view. The world will always chase speed, but those who understand patience will always outlast it. So when the results feel slow, don't step away. Lean in. Let time sharpen your focus, let repetition harden your resolve, and let silence become the proof that your discipline no longer needs an audience. That's where transformation begins, in the calm endurance of someone who keeps building even when no one is watching. Chapter 10. Let your habits speak louder than your goals. People often believe that life changes the moment they set a goal. They write it down, feel a surge of energy, and imagine a future that looks brighter, sharper, and somehow easier. The goal gives them hope. It paints a picture of what could be. But goals alone are just words dressed in emotion. They make promises without proof. They speak loudly, but they don't move. What moves you forward is not what you say you want. It's what you do without having to say it. The quiet, steady patterns that fill your days tell the truth your goals can only dream of. Every person has a list of things they hope for: a better body, more peace, a stronger relationship, a purpose that feels real. But the difference between the ones who keep wishing and the ones who actually transform is never luck, and it's rarely timing. It's the invisible consistency of their habits, the small, repeated choices they make long after the spark of motivation fades. Habits are the proof that your future is being built. They are the architecture behind every kind of strength: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And the irony is, most people keep rewriting goals when what they need to rewrite are their days. They chase new outcomes without realizing that their results are only ever reflections of their patterns. The life you live today is not random. It's built on the habits you've practiced long enough to become normal. What you tolerate, what you repeat, what you postpone, these things shape your reality more than any dream ever will. You can wish for change all you want, but the moment your habits disagree, your dream will lose. That's why goals often fail, because they belong to the mind. Habits belong to the body, and the body always tells the truth. It does what it's trained to do, not what it's told to do. If your routines are chaotic, your results will be too. If your daily actions are unfocused, no amount of vision boards or affirmations will save you. When your habits align with your values, life becomes quieter. You stop fighting yourself. You stop waking up wondering what to do next because your structure already knows. The calm you've been searching for is often hiding inside the discipline you've been avoiding. It's not about being strict, it's about being clear. Because clarity creates peace, and peace builds progress. When your habits are clear, your energy flows. You no longer waste time convincing yourself to start. You simply begin. Every morning, every decision, every action is a vote for the person you're becoming. It doesn't matter if the vote is small. What matters is that it's consistent. You don't need to change everything. You just need to cast more votes for your future than for your past. Because change is not one big event. It's thousands of small moments where you choose to live by design, not by default. People often say they want to become their best self. But your best self isn't waiting somewhere far ahead. It's built through ordinary days. Through the way you handle mornings, respond to challenges, speak when you're angry, or stay kind when you're tired. Your habits are yourself in motion. They are your life on repeat. If you want to know what your next year will look like, don't look at your goals. Look at your calendar. Look at your evenings. Look at the things you repeat without thinking. That's your real future forming in slow motion. Habits are honest. They don't lie. You can't fake them. You can't perform them once and expect a transformation. You either live by them or you don't. And that's why they're so powerful. Because they expose the gap between what you say you want and what you actually do. You can tell the world you value health, but if you numb your body with exhaustion and neglect, your actions are louder than your words. You can say you value peace, but if you keep chasing drama and distraction, your habits are the truth, not your statements. And you can claim to want success, but if you start and stop and quit again, your patterns are already telling the story, not of failure, but of inconsistency. This isn't about guilt. It's about awareness. Because awareness is where freedom begins. The moment you stop lying to yourself about your habits, you gain power over them. You stop blaming your circumstances and start shaping them. The strongest people are not the ones who work the hardest for 1 week. They're the ones who build a rhythm that lasts a lifetime. They know that energy rises and falls, that motivation fades, that emotion changes shape, but their structure remains. Their systems carry them through the quiet, the chaos, and the doubt. That's why habits are sacred. They protect you from yourself. They catch you when you fall. They become your home base when life gets noisy. Even when you're lost, your habits keep you moving in the right direction. You don't have to announce your goals when your habits are already living them. You don't have to convince anyone that you've changed. The proof will appear in your patterns. It will be seen in your steadiness, in the way you follow through, in the way you treat people when no one is watching. Consistency doesn't always look exciting. It's not loud or glamorous. It's repetitive, simple, and sometimes invisible. But that's where the quiet power hides. Every small act done with care, every routine followed with focus, every decision honored without applause, it all adds up. You are building strength not by doing something new, but by refusing to break what's already working. You don't need to chase motivation when your structure is right. You don't need to force effort when your habits already hold the weight. When your life is aligned, progress becomes a byproduct. You stop asking if it's working because it already feels like peace. Real growth doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need validation. It's what happens in the silent hours, when you show up, when you honor your word, when you choose to be steady instead of perfect. And that's the difference between those who talk about change and those who live it. Talkers are fueled by excitement. Doers are guided by structure. One burns out fast, the other builds forever. It's easy to start big. It's hard to stay small, to keep showing up for the little things, the mundane things, the quiet things that no one celebrates. But that's where greatness is born, not in fireworks, but in consistency. When your habits and your identity finally agree, life stops feeling like a fight. You don't wake up wrestling with yourself. You wake up knowing what to do. You no longer need to push. You just flow. Because at that point, the habits aren't something you do anymore. They're something you are. This is what mastery looks like. Not control, not perfection, but harmony. The alignment between what you say, what you believe, and what you repeatedly do. It's not about being rigid. It's about being reliable for yourself. Habits are promises you keep in private. They're how you show love to your future self. Every time you follow through, you're saying, I care enough about who I'm becoming to stay with this. And that small act of care, done 100 times, becomes confidence. So don't wait for inspiration. Don't wait for the perfect plan. Don't wait until you feel ready. You are ready when you begin. You are ready when you move even slightly toward what matters. Every action is a seed. Every repetition is watering that seed. And though growth might be slow, it's always real. You can't rush roots. You can only nourish them. And the person who keeps tending to their habits, even when no one is watching, is the person who eventually blooms in silence. You don't have to prove your worth with results. The results will come. What you need to prove is your patience, your persistence, your willingness to stay the course when no one is clapping, because that's what separates noise from progress. The ability to stay consistent when success is still invisible. Let your habits be the evidence that you're building something worth keeping. Let your actions be the language that speaks when motivation falls silent. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't compare your path to anyone else's. Just focus on being a little more consistent, a little more grounded, a little more aligned than you were yesterday. That's enough. That's how real change happens. Slowly, quietly, beautifully. You don't need the world to understand your journey. You just need to keep walking it. Because every quiet step forward is rewriting who you are. Every day you live in alignment is one less day you waste in confusion. And one day, you'll look back and realize your habits have built a life that feels right from the inside out. Not because you chased everything you wanted, but because you became someone who naturally attracts what belongs to them. That's the truth of transformation. You don't need to shout it. You just need to live it. So as this final chapter closes, take a deep breath. Let everything you've learned settle quietly inside you. Systems, patience, clarity, discipline, they've all been leading to this. The moment you stop talking about the life you want and start living in a way that proves it, let your habits speak for you. Let them move with grace, quiet strength, and purpose. Let them build a life that doesn't need constant motivation to sustain it. Because once your habits align with your values, peace becomes your natural state. You don't need to tell anyone what you're building. The way you move will say it all. And then the room grows quiet. Not because the story is over, but because it has finally begun. Every person reaches a moment when they realize that the way forward isn't about running faster. It's about moving wiser. And maybe this audiobook found you right in that moment. Tired of forcing yourself to chase. Tired of setting goals that feel good for a week and then disappear. Tired of living in constant cycles of starting over. If that's you, take a deep breath. You made it here. You stayed through every chapter, not just to collect ideas, but to learn how to live differently, slowly, intentionally, peacefully. That alone is proof that something in you has already begun to shift. Set systems instead of goals was never written to impress you. It was written to help you remember your strength, the kind that doesn't depend on motivation or emotion, the kind that comes from building your life like a craftsman, one careful habit at a time. This book was never about chasing outcomes. It was about returning to what you can control, your process, your structure, your discipline, your mind. Because when those are in place, results are not something you beg for. They become something you naturally create. You've learned that real change is not built on hype or hope, but on rhythm, the rhythm of consistent action done with purpose. That rhythm becomes your heartbeat. It becomes your calm in chaos. It becomes the quiet authority that steadies you no matter what life throws your way. And that's the beauty of this philosophy. It takes the pressure off perfection. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to keep showing up for what matters. You don't need to chase the end result. You only need to tend to your system. Systems are like invisible allies. They don't ask for attention. They simply hold you up. They remind you where to go when you lose focus, and they protect you when your emotions run wild. A strong system doesn't restrict your freedom. It gives you peace. It allows you to live with clarity, to move through your days with more certainty, and to rest at night knowing that progress is already in motion. So, as you close this audiobook, don't rush back into noise. Let the quiet stay for a while. Sit in it. Feel it. Because this silence you feel right now, this sense of stillness mixed with understanding, that's what alignment feels like. That's the sound of your mind reorganizing itself into something calmer, clearer, more capable. From this moment on, you don't need to wait to feel ready. You are ready. You've already begun. Every choice you make from here, every morning you organize, every decision you simplify, every habit you repeat, will begin shaping the life that once felt too far away. You don't need a new plan. You need faith in the plan you've built. You need to honor it long enough to see what it can really do. And when you start to feel doubt, because you will, return to what's real. Return to your rhythm. Return to your small daily actions. The world around you might chase speed and applause, but you've learned something deeper. Quiet consistency always wins. It wins because it lasts. It wins because it's rooted in self-respect. It wins because you've decided that who you are becoming matters more than what people see. So, as you move on from these words, I want you to carry one truth with you. Success is not found in what you dream about. It's found in what you repeat. Let your habits carry the message. Let your discipline speak the language your goals could never express. Your systems are now your voice. Your routines are your proof. Your actions are your legacy. Thank you for spending your time and your trust here. Thank you for choosing to grow in a world that often tells you to chase instead. Thank you for allowing Book Sounds Better You to be a part of your transformation. We make these audiobooks for people like you, people who want to live with substance, not noise. People who still believe that peace, purpose, and power can coexist. And now, as this journey closes, remember, your system is your compass. Follow it. Protect it. Refine it. Let it carry you through uncertainty and lead you toward clarity. May you wake each morning with focus and rest each night with peace. May your days move with rhythm instead of rush. May your systems support you like a quiet force that never leaves. And when you look back months from now and realize how far you've come, you'll know it wasn't luck, it wasn't timing, it was you. You built this. You earned this. Thank you for listening to Set Systems Instead of Goals. This has been Book Sounds Better You, where words become guidance and guidance becomes growth. Keep building your systems. Keep living with intention. Keep trusting your quiet consistency, because your life is already changing, one calm, deliberate day at a time.